I'm back, y'all. I wanted to upload a longer video because I thought to myself, okay, let me upload this video, which I felt very passionate and that had been ruminating for a long time. And there's a lot of things that, in all honesty, ruminate, and I'm just like, okay, like I should be sharing these thoughts and just observations with everyone, and not only that, but experiences, because I've lived through a lot of racism. And mind you, I'm a native New Yorker. One would think, oh, melting pot, the most diverse place. And let me tell you, I really have um, had some unfortunate encounters, not only in New York City, but all throughout the US and as well as traveling. So I have a lot to share, although I'm not sure if I'll get to everything. And I feel like, I would want, or more so, this has been a thought for a minute. I would love to see POCs feel more emboldened to share their experiences and to essentially reclaim the power, right? Because I feel a lot of times in life we've been silenced, we've been told we can't share about our experiences, and it's interesting that we have been subjected to so much racism and so many stereotypes that are detrimental, and we can even see this in the entertainment business. Stereotypes being um, put out there through topics of certain movies and mentions of certain countries, and its constant villainization of certain communities and people groups. And we never take a moment to realize, well, this is what America likes to create. America, or the West, and I would say a lot of countries love to always create a villain, and what that villain looks like, and what that villain and who that villain is, and from what country and what race. And it's time to dismantle that. It's time to really start really reflecting on the damage that it's created, not only within the US but worldwide. So I just want to create a channel where I'm challenging these ideas, and I'm sure there's many individuals that have noticed that very thing come into play. And it's interesting how the white community has been at the forefront of allowing these ideas and beliefs to be perpetuated. A community or a country, right? Because, well, according to this country, they are the representatives, or more so, I would say a lot of the globe seems to think that their representative, the white community, is representative of the USA, when the USA is a diverse place. But most importantly, USA was originally native lands, indigenous lands, and it's insane that we've erased the original people from history and have replaced them with essentially phonies, right? But with that being said, I wanted to dive into, my time, or more so how I'm being more intentional about reclaiming my power. And I want to share an experience that I've had most recently, where I was working at a school, right? And mind you, I moved to a predominantly white area. As mentioned, I'm from New York City, and I grew up and had the privilege to grow up in diverse setting. Most of my friends, Black and brown communities, the schools that I went to had educators that looked like myself, the whole nine. So it was a healthy environment, and I understand just with conversations with a lot of POCs that it can be very detrimental to be in predominantly white areas. And I felt that right off the bat when I came here. I was like, oof, this feels different. This does not feel comfortable. And fortunately enough, I've been able to have my family, like a good portion of my family, and it's just so empowering to see their faces, to see them be here, to see them come over. And it's not one or two, it's a good amount. So it's like we are here, and we are not afraid, right? But I want to say that to say that I was working at a position in which I thought was going to be diverse because the individuals that were part of that were interviewing me were a diverse group. But one thing I noticed upon going there and working at the school was that the students were all black and brown. But interestingly enough, the teachers were white and white women. And I would hear conversations because I was one of the staff members within the office that pointed to white supremacy when all is said and done. And it was it I honestly wasn't surprised, honestly. But it's also an indicator of like this is what most of the U.S. is, right? And once again, this is why I say I was privileged to have black and brown teachers, staff, classmates, because it's so important to feel like you're represented, that those very individuals that are in those roles, that you can be like them. And unfortunately, within the school that I'm in, I'm hearing a lot of what I would say borderline racist rhetoric. And it's interesting because these very teachers are teaching the brown and black community of tomorrow. And I don't feel like that really is motivating when all is said and done, or what are they teaching, our children essentially, or individuals that look like us, right? They're teaching them a version of history that is rooted in colonization, something I don't agree with. And they're teaching them the history that I grew up learning about. It took me time to decolonize the mind, for me to realize my own errors, for me to realize that what I had been fed or told was not true and was not accurate whatsoever. And it was really disheartening, but it was also eye-opening. And I said to myself, is this a place where, the values that I hold and the understanding that I hold on history and the world, and I feel that it should be accurate, and it should talk about the ugliness of American history, because what I feel that America likes to do is that they like to put a band-aid on issues that have existed throughout history in the past, but they don't like to acknowledge it, and that never brings healing, and that will never bring healing to this place and country until it is acknowledged and people realize the reality of this country and what it continues to do. Because with the current wars that exist, there is no and even with the current presidency, this is exactly what America has always stood for. This is exactly who America is. And it's great, or, maybe I should be more, I should say the USA, because naturally America expands south, North America. So the USA has always stood for, and I'm glad that most of the world is waking up to the reality of this country, and a lot of people are as well here in the US, because this has been the experience of many of the black and brown communities, and continues to be. It's insane that this country claims that it's progressive and likes to essentially shit on other countries and say, oh, well, we're not like them. Yet the rights that, or the freedoms that people have differ so greatly based off simple things like race, gender. It's ridiculous. Yeah, sure, progressive, So, I've noticed that, and it's time for the rest of the world to realize this is no place that you really have to uphold any longer. This is no place that you should even consider moving to be honest. I'm going to keep it real. Because this is a country that there is nothing to really be proud of. This was native land, first and foremost. It was never the USA. That says enough already. That they deleted a people group, and they or they attempted to delete a people group, and once again try to override that and say, well, this is what the U.S. is. And it's interesting that we say, and the land of the free. Where? Please, where? Someone, I'm looking for it. Whew, my. Okay. But yeah, it's just, and I understand not everyone is well rehearsed on history. Not everyone wants to acknowledge history and the ugliness of it, but one must. There can't be healing or reconciliation without acknowledging, and that's the thing. The U.S. does not care to. And I can say a lot more about that because every empire falls. But with that being said, this is what leads every empire to fall. When there's ego, there's pride, there's power, there's money, there's me, myself, and I, but not the collective involved. And, well, justice will always prevail. Nonetheless, that was a bit of a rant. I do want to say that one way in which I'm doing my own work in terms of not allowing for colonization to dictate my present and my future is that I'm reclaiming power by saying no more. So in positions or in places, and I've had to deal with racism or prejudice or just like unequal treatment or unfair treatment in certain spaces and by white management. I've had to deal with the trauma that comes from that naturally. But nowadays, I'm like, I don't have to deal with that anymore. Naturally, this might come from a place of, well, I'm much older now. I have a lot more experience in the professional sector. I have degrees under my belt. I do speak and understand more or less I speak Spanish, but I also do understand other Latin languages fairly easily. So I do have some skill sets, and I'm going to get to something that is very important, especially for my fellow Black and Brown brothers and sisters, is that I know how much individuals with certain skill sets are needed in the workforce. And let's take, for example, bilingual. And this is, if I don't feel like they have my back, or if I don't feel like a company or organization has my back after experiencing some uncomfortable situations that concern and relate to racism, I'm no longer willing to tolerate that. And that's that. I will walk away, or I walk away. And here's the thing. These companies, organizations need a lot of these skill sets. These company organizations need POCs because they want us to be the face a lot of times of these companies, organizations, because they want us to attract. And, well, the more numbers, the more money, right? They want us to be the face. They don't want us to be leadership, though. They don't want us to be in higher up positions, though. But they want us to be the face, still pay us less, right? Or breadcrumb us, right? But they want to gain by appealing to the audiences that look like us. And this is where I'm going to say, I know the trick. I know what you're doing. And I'm not going to pander to that anymore. I'm going places where I'm welcomed, where I'm supported, where I feel like if I happen to have white staff, because I'm very intentional about who is going to be my supervisor. I've had great experiences with women of color, period. I feel like they've always had my back, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Can I say the same about the white community, especially women? No, I cannot. This may be attributed to the individualistic nature of the West and the Western world. Nonetheless, no excuse should be given, because when all is said and done, I'm going to think worst case scenario. So for me, I'm very intentional also. Okay, what does the demographics look like in that company? I'm not working in a place where I will not feel welcomed, where conversations are going to be uncomfortable, where I'm not going to be treated like their white counterpart, right? And the more that we stand with our Black, brown, and brown brothers and sisters, ensuring that we're supporting them, we're working within their spaces. These other companies or organizations are predominantly made up of white that will need many of our skill sets, will be left scrambling, because either they're going to have to learn the languages, the culture, try to maybe look like us too. I don't know. That's not for me to figure out, but I'm going where I'm writing history the right way, or I'm on the right side of history, period. And I know not everyone has the privilege to do that. You know, fortunately, many of us POCs have to navigate predominantly white environments and settings. But I'm sure that in the midst of that, and once again, this is where we have to vocalize, we have to be our own advocate, feel emboldened to ask, what are your demographics? You know, can I speak to also the individuals of color that are working within those companies or organizations? And naturally, not all of us are going to have the same experience, but I just want to put that out there. And I also want to put out there, because I was thinking about this as well, there's a lot of social media news, like, you know, the internet is filled with so much racism, in my opinion, especially geared towards communities of color. And I have found it to be very detrimental to my mental health, and this is why I've felt so empowered in many ways to create this YouTube channel, because it's like, enough is enough. And I want to hear from my, you know, Black and brown brothers and sisters more about their experiences. And naturally, many have also been an inspiration to me creating this channel. Shout out to Jessie Wu. I truly always admired how she is never afraid to say what she thinks and believes. And I agree with her in everything she's vocalized since I came across her channel. So shout out to Jessie Wu. But I wanna say that we must stay focused. One thing I've noticed that has helped me immensely has been focusing on things that relate to my life. I feel that a lot of racism and the news and all these other outlets that exist, especially online, have not been conducive to my mental health and well-being. And naturally, when we're navigating outside, if we're navigating in predominantly white spaces, or even if they're not, because unfortunately many of our Black and brown brothers and sisters, or some, can often still have a colonized mindset and are not aware of how some, and I will chat about, or, you know, cover this a lot more later on, because I can say this is very prevalent, more or less, in the brown community, where there's almost these sentiments of anti-Blackness, which we need to eliminate ASAP. That has to end. That is ridiculous, especially given the fact that many of us have Afro-Black ancestry, period. And it's insane that we're pandering to colonization which has affected our own communities and impacted our own communities negatively. Yes, negatively. So, you know, I will cover that later on, but I guess to get back to what I was saying is that we must stay focused on ourselves and our personal development and growth, whether that be academically, professionally, mentally, emotionally. Stay focused. Stay focused, because I feel like a lot of what exists around the world, including those that are racist and white that exist in the world and try to bring their ugliness to you, are trying to distract you from your purpose and are trying to keep you from advancing. And this is what racism has created. They've wanted to keep Black and brown people subjugated in a place of fear, in a place of anxiety. If you need to cut the internet, if you need to remove yourself from social media, I personally don't have any other social media outlets besides LinkedIn, which I rarely frequent, and that's a professional network site. So I don't have anything aside from this and that. Why? Because I know how detrimental those other outlets can be, and they don't allow one to advance. It's a constant state of comparison, but you're on your own journey first and foremost, and you have your own experiences and challenges that a white counterpart might never be able to understand and would never be able to relate. And therefore, seek individuals out that understand your journey, and focus on how you can always be better and improve. And this is the only way for us to gain true independence financially. When we are able to succeed academically and professionally, we're going to have a say in what and who we want to represent us, and who we want our colleagues and those that are within our workplace to be. And hopefully that is to mirror and to leverage, to continue to mobilize our Black and brown communities, to uplift them, to bring hope, most importantly, to ensure that they know that they're supported, because there's, once again, too much division within our Black and brown communities. We need to come together. We need to really come together, because we understand what it is to be the outsiders, right? So, I'm gonna cry. Sending so many hugs, because I am a bit of an emotional person sometimes. I feel like YouTube has empowered me so much, like having this outlet to speak my truth, speak my experiences, speak my life, right? My life journey with you all. Because once again, a lot of us, we keep things in here, right? We allow things to remain in here. Once we come together, knowing that, oh my, someone has experienced something similar, someone understands what this journey has been like, just know that there are many more. And I would love to hear from all of you that, have similar experiences, or even if you don't feel comfortable sharing, just know that you have a voice, that you have the power, and great power, in this life and in this world. And you also have the power to change the course of history. So I encourage you all to be strong, to be vocal, to be unapologetically you, and to always strive for excellence. I love you all. Bye.